Hello, everyone, and welcome to the real estate market analysis for Morgan Hill for September of 2023. This is an opportunity for us to sort of sit back a little bit, take a look at the numbers, see where we've been, compare this month of 2023 to the same month last year so we get that year over year comparison. But at the same time, we also look over our shoulders, just see the past months to kind of evaluate what trends we've seen over the course of the last few months. And of course, you can also check out my other videos that cover San Jose and Gilroy. And we also do coffee and real estate once a month on the third Saturday of each month, where we do the entire county, kind of get a very big 10,000 foot view and do a little bit of a comparison between the county overall with these smaller communities and see where we are all. And it's also an opportunity to answer any questions live that you might have relating to real estate. So make sure and check that out. You can find that at my website at soldbyrobert.com. Just scroll down a little bit once you get there. It's about mid-page where you see a link that'll take you directly to where we're going to be hosting that coffee and real estate live chat. Now, in addition to that, in terms of tools at the website, you can find instant free home valuation right there. You just enter the address, you'll get the valuation. It doesn't ask for your email address, it just gives you the information. But if you'd like to get it regularly on a monthly basis, plus a lot of other cool tools, you can provide your email address and then you will be signed up for that. And of course, you can unsubscribe from that at any time in the future if you find you're not getting any benefit from it. And then, of course, if you're interested in starting your home search, I've got all the best tools right there waiting for you to get started your search anywhere here in Silicon Valley. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. And as we like to do, we are going to start with total active listings. That's just the inventory number, right? It's the number of homes that buyers had to choose from or sellers had to compete with, depending on what your perspective is. Now, what we can see is that in September of 2023, we had 64 homes available for sale in Morgan Hill. Relatively small number, down from last year when it was 85 homes. That's a 25% drop from the same time last year. And that gives us a month of inventory of 1.8, meaning that if we froze the inventory and we froze the number of homes that sell per month, it would take us less than 2 months to sell off everything that we currently have on the market, which is nuts. A balanced market for in terms of month of inventory is considered more like 4.5 to 6 months, 5.5 months, right in that range. And we are clearly far below that. If we suddenly saw a big jump in sales or buyers coming out into the marketplace, obviously this would push things way over into the seller's world, and it's already in the seller's world. But if we start to see a lag, and we saw some of that last month, if you checked out my market analysis for last month, or the coffee and real estate actually from October, you know that we're actually now adding inventory with each and every month that passes because we're selling fewer homes than we're listing. But let's go ahead and move down the line here and check out some of these new numbers relating to listings since we brought it up. Before we do that, let's actually take a look at active listings just for a minute and look at what trends we've got. So in terms of what the inventory has been doing, aside from July, where things really jumped up in terms of active listings, where we listed a bunch of homes and then sold them all really at the same time, we've seen a general trend upward and then down in September. And that's actually pretty normal. We tend to see the numbers going down in the wintertime as folks take homes off of the market because they don't want to deal with folks walking through their home during the holiday season. And then we also see the number of homes that get listed tends to drop as well. So what do we expect to see in terms of overall inventory? I expect to see a drop or a flat number, primarily because, and that's obviously a contradiction to last year. If we look at September of last year, we see it dropped in October, and that may happen, but I think we'll see it be relatively flat, and it might even increase simply because we're seeing that trend of more homes being listed than being sold, and we'll see how it goes. If the psychology behind what we've been seeing equals more sellers coming onto the market or staying on the market because they think that the market's likely to soften in the next 6 to 12 months, we may see growth in the inventory, but if we do, it wouldn't be by much. All right, now let's go ahead and really seriously look into new listings. These are the number of properties that came on the market in the month, and we can see that we had a bit of a jump in September. 67 homes were listed versus last year's 44. That's a 52% jump from the same time last year, which is interesting. And I think the psychology behind it is what I was talking about a minute ago, where sellers are seeing a opportunity that may go away. They feel like they're at a time when they can get the best price for their home, and they're going ahead and listing now because there might be concerned that in the longer term leading into 2024, prices may drop on the properties. Now we can see that if we compare it to last year, August to September saw a drop. So this is bucking the trend that we saw last year in 2022. And honestly, that is historically what tends to happen. Between August and September, you tend to see a drop in the number of folks bringing their home onto the market, but we didn't see that this year. So very interesting number. The psychology under it, I think, is a big thing to think about. And understanding that is interesting. Also because this isn't consistent across the county. Now, the county overall saw 6% increase from the same time last year, but San Jose saw a decrease, and so did Gilroy. So kind of interesting that we're seeing a little bit of variation here in terms of various communities. But San Jose, is, in general, as a city, has been overperforming in a lot of areas. But also remember that San Jose is probably one of the most large and diverse markets. It is the largest and most diverse market that we have here in Santa Clara County. So it's one that tends to buck some trends because it also contains so much higher end markets that tend to push those numbers higher. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the total number of homes sold. They're actually down 12% from the same time last year. Last year, we had 41 homes sell in September, 36 homes sold this year. And what we were seeing was a general declining trend from May, where we peaked, down to August. And that was expected. I feel like I called that one in terms of what we were expecting here in Morgan Hill. I anticipated that in April and May, we'd see our peak in terms of homes sold. And we did absolutely see that. Little bit of a surprise that between August and September, we saw an increase. If we look at last year, we can see that between August and September of last year, we went from 55 homes sold to 41 homes sold, so a pretty significant drop. This year, not so much. We saw total number of homes sold increase. Now, there are a variety of reasons why that might be. Homes that would normally have sold in August maybe didn't because the escrows went longer because of financial reasons. Remember, these last couple of months have been very traumatic for buyers as they've had to deal with higher interest rates. So it's distinctly possible that some folks got delayed or maybe even had their escrows fall out because their financing had become too burdensome and they couldn't do it. So I don't have any hands-on data for that one, but I'm just trying to figure out why we're seeing a bigger dip in August that then gets almost compensated for in September by an uptick. So if you've got a better explanation, I'd love to hear it. Use the comments below if you're on YouTube watching this video to give me some suggestions on what you think caused that number. Okay, now let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the pending homes. Now, I like looking at pending homes because it is a way to read the future, look into that crystal ball, and see if we can't figure out how many homes are going to sell in upcoming months. And that's exactly what this number is, because it's the number of offers that were accepted by sellers. So as soon as you accept that offer, that home either goes contingent or pending, and that's what this is a measure of. How many homes got their status changed from active and available, looking for an offer, to we have accepted an offer and we're working through that process. So as we can see, we're actually up from last year. It was 37 homes went pending at this time last year, but in September of 2023, that number's at 47, which is interesting because it's an uptick. And what's also interesting about that is that it is not universal, right? So we saw 27% increase in Morgan Hill, a 46% increase in Gilroy in this number. But overall in the county, there was a 2% decline. And in San Jose, there was a 12% decline. So definitely some differences happening depending on where you are in the county. We had our peak in May. And again, that is something we called here early in terms of understanding when we tend to see the peaks of activity in our local markets. And so, April, May, it used to be people would focus more on June. And June is obviously one to pay attention to, because remember, all of these May homes that are pending would then show up in the June sold numbers, and which we looked at just a moment ago. And so you can see what those numbers did. But again, 27% increase. So also interesting, if we look at last year between August and September, what happened then? Look at the dramatic drop. We had kind of a steady increase to August, then a big drop to 37 homes from 50 in September of 2022. But this year we saw an increase between August and September. So again, another trend bucked this year. and something that I think reflects an interesting potential increase in the number of homes sold next month. But again, because interest rates very recently, particularly in August and September, have taken such a jump, the idea that that number will have a suppressive effect on sales is something you can't really deny. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see more escrow failures in this bunch of properties than we've seen in the past, just because we had that jump up to 7.9 to 8.2% interest rates that really kind of clobbered some folks over the head. Now, if we take a look next at average original list price. Now, original list price is something most agents don't report in these, and most outlets don't report. The reason I report it is it reveals some of the psychology of the market. And right now, in putting together effective offers, understanding that psychology can be important if you're a buyer. Now, this basically calibrates us to what were sellers thinking when they listed their home. What amount in their head did they think their home was worth? It's up 8.6% in Morgan Hill. The only city, the only local area we check where this number is up from last year. The county overall is down 1.5%, San Jose is down 0.5%, and Gilroy is down 11.4% in terms of average original list price. And that's not a good thing. Now, we're going to see in a minute what homes actually sold for. But being better calibrated to the marketplace in terms of what buyers can pay and are willing to pay is important. And what we're seeing is that more homes are not, when it comes to this number relating to Morgan Hill, which usually translates to more price reductions down the road or more homes selling for below asking price. And we'll see if that's true as we go through these numbers. So we can see that last year at this time, the average original list price, what the price of the home was right when it was listed, was $1,471,953. This year, 2023 September, $1,598,784 is the average original list price. So this isn't the list price that it was when the home actually ended up selling. This is what that original list price was. So this doesn't take into account price reductions or price increases. But we'll see how that played out. Let's go ahead now and jump over and look at average sales prices. And this is going to be an interesting one. And it's absolutely going to play into what we were just talking about. Now, average sales prices, while expectations for sellers were higher by over 8%, almost 9%, actual sales prices were down 1.4%. So the average sales price last year was $1,476,318. This year, $1,455,775. So keep that in mind. The average 1.455 was the average sales price. The average original list price was $1 million, almost $1.6 million. So far less. So if we kind of put that into context, that's 1.4% less than the same time last year, and represents, in terms of expectations versus what's being delivered, on average, home sellers are getting $143,000 below what they expected when they originally list the home. All right. We're the only city, again, where the average sales price is down from last year. In the county overall, it's up over almost 12%, 11.7%. In San Jose, it's up 13.2%, and in Gilroy, it's up 1.2%. And the factor that is affecting this the most is a psychological one. It is the expectations of sellers who are listing their homes at prices that are higher than they should be. And so what ends up happening is all of these things end up getting depressed. It ends up being, and we'll see how this plays out a little bit more in terms of percent over under asking price. But it's an interesting number to track because the psychology of it definitely plays into it. Okay, next. Percent of list price. This is how much above or below asking price. And this is the asking price at the time the offer was made. So this is not original list price versus sales price. This is the list price at the time the buyer made an offer. So this is a way to look a little bit more into the psychology of buyers. How much above or below asking price were buyers willing to offer the price that they were faced with? So if they were faced with $1 million, how much above or below that amount were they willing to offer that then got accepted and the home sold? This time last year, we were at 99%. So on average in Morgan Hill, sellers were getting 1% below asking price on average. This year, we're seeing actually an increase where they're getting 1.1% over asking price, or 101%. So that's a net delta of 2.1%. And we can see that the trend fluctuates a little bit, and because of the sample size in Morgan Hill in terms of the number of homes that sell, that sort of thing, a little fluctuation is not an unusual thing to see. It's kind of good to on those crazy peaks, because one home that sells at a super high price can often throw these numbers off. But in terms of the overall trend, we can see it's trending down from a peak of April of 2023. And it's likely that we will see this number to trend down. To be honest, this is one area where my call did not come true. I thought most areas would be below 100% starting this month or last month, simply because of the change in the time of year and how things tend to slow down in wintertime, and particularly with interest rates being where they are. I thought this would push things down. What's interesting is that all the communities that we check are seeing increases from the same time last year, but Gilroy is the only location that's actually below asking price right now at 99%. Let's go ahead and take a look at days on market. This is how long it's taking to get homes sold. We can see that we're very much off of what was happening last year. In September of 2022, it was taking 31 days to get a home sold, and this year we've got a 45% drop, 17 days, average days on market in September. And what's interesting is we had seen what I thought was a normal indicator for the year, where we saw a bottom out in June, and then in July and August we saw an increase. What those two numbers in July and August indicated really was more selling off existing inventory that had been in the market for longer. So it was one of those scenarios where we weren't listing enough homes, and what we were seeing was the demand was high enough that we were selling off homes that had been on the market for quite a bit longer. And now in September, we're seeing that homes are just simply staying on the market for a shorter period of time. And when we compare August and September in terms of number of homes that have had a price reduction, it might be interesting to note how those large numbers of price reductions really had an effect on the market, and why we suddenly see this lower number in terms of days on market. Where do I think we're going to go? I think days on market should go up from here. If we look at last year, we can see in September, October, November, December, we typically peak in December. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see things start to go up. Last year, we saw things go down between September and October. Wouldn't surprise me if that number was flat. I would guess we're going to see things go up a little bit between September and October, simply because financial influences, those interest rates, just taking longer for things to get sold. Let's see here. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at price reductions. All right, so 23% of homes in inventory for September of 2023 had a price reduction this month. But last month, 49%. And that's what I wanted to call out. I think one reason why we saw a substantial decrease in the number of days on market is that last month, August, saw almost half of the inventory get a price reduction. And I think that's what pushed homes to sell faster in terms of just trying to evaluate the numbers. Now, overall, between this year and last year, we have a 44% drop in the total number of homes that had a price reduction. And that doesn't really surprise me. It doesn't surprise me we've seen a reduction in the number of price reductions this month, because last month's number was so big. So the long and the short of it is the market kind of corrected. In terms of what was listed, we didn't see a lot of correction in terms of expectations. I think that has to happen in order for the market in Morgan Hill to get a little bit more healthy and more movement in terms of what the inventory is doing. But they did wise up last month and see that 49% drop. But again, we might see another peak in that price reduction number in the coming months, simply because we're still seeing homes listed at prices that are just out of whack by about 8%. All right. I hope that has been good information for you. As always, if you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can find me at soldbyrobert.com. I am a licensed real estate broker right here in Santa Clara County, ready to help you with whatever real estate needs you might have. So feel free to reach out. The goal is always to leave you with more information on the table than I take up in your time, and I hope we've achieved that today. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all next time.